They tell you love is the answer, that if you love deeply, give endlessly, stay soft, the world will protect you, respect you, reciprocate. But Machiavelli didn't see love as a gift. He saw it as a liability, a door left open, a weakness waiting to be exploited. A man who depends on love will be destroyed by it. A man who commands fear survives, not because love is bad, but because it's blind, and the world is not where love begins. Strategy ends. You love your family, your friends, your partner. You tell them everything, you forgive them early. You justify what they do, even when it hurts you. And why? Because love removes the filter. You stop calculating, you stop protecting your position. You assume, if I would never hurt them, they wouldn't hurt me. But Machiavelli would laugh at that. He knew even those closest to you will betray you if it suits their interests, especially when they know you won't retaliate. The danger isn't in enemies, it's in familiarity. Your enemies fear your silence, but the people you love, they grow comfortable with your softness, with your accessibility, with your compliance. Over time, they expect your loyalty unearned, demand your forgiveness instantly, react with anger when you finally pull back. Because love, when unguarded, turns you into a tool. Not always intentionally, but inevitably. Machiavelli didn't believe in removing love, he believed in containing it. You love with a ceiling, with a cost, with a plan, because without a limit. Love becomes emotional exposure, and emotional exposure is the most exploitable position a powerful man can be in. Let's get one thing clear, to be cold-blooded isn't to be cruel, it's to be aware. Aware of how people shift when they're too close, aware of what you give up when you become too emotionally transparent, aware of what love turns into when it goes unquestioned, entitlement. Machiavelli understood something most don't: the ones who love you unconditionally will still hurt you accidentally. And the ones who only stay close because of what you provide will hurt you deliberately. So the solution isn't to stop loving, it's to stop leading with love. The moment you lead with feeling, you lose leverage. Have you ever wondered why your advice isn't taken seriously by your family, why your friends stop listening after they get what they want, why your partner doesn't fear losing you? Because they know your love overrides your logic. They know you'll apologize first, you'll come back, you'll explain, you'll defend your feelings, you'll never enforce consequences. And that makes you predictable, soft, safe. And Machiavelli warned us, it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But with those closest to you, being feared feels wrong. So you stop playing the game, and they start winning it. The cost of staying warm: you will lower your standards, accept behavior you'd destroy strangers over, forgive without reform. Stay silent just to keep the peace. But the peace you're keeping is just everyone else's comfort with your weakness. And when someone is comfortable with your weakness, they will test it. Then probe it, then exploit it. You don't have to stop loving, you just have to love with boundaries so sharp they cut. Let them see your warmth, but never without a wall behind it. Because the moment your love becomes unconditional, so does your pain. Strangers don't break you, it's always the ones you let closest. And Machiavelli understood why. He wasn't paranoid, he was precise. He knew that the people who knew your buttons, your boundaries, your soft spots, were the most likely to push them, not because they hate you, but because they've stopped fearing you. And when fear leaves a relationship, so does respect. Test 1, the entitlement test: they stop thanking you, stop asking for permission, stop considering how much you're giving. Why? Because in their mind, you're already theirs. They believe you'll always help, you'll always show up, you'll always say yes. And the moment you don't, you're selfish, you've changed, you're cold. But Machiavelli would say, let them speak. That's just the sound of someone mourning the loss of their advantage. Test 2, the guilt reflex: you set a boundary, they get emotional. You say no. They bring up the past. You protect your time, they call you distant. It's not a conversation anymore, it's a maneuver. Because they've learned, if they can make you feel guilty, they can make you reverse any decision. And if you flinch, they file it, they'll use it again. That's not love, that's emotional negotiation. And if you can't hold your line when guilt enters the room, you never had one. Test 3, the loyalty loop. You've been loyal, supportive, consistent, but when you're the only one doing that, it becomes expected. They stop checking in, stop reciprocating, start showing up only when it suits them. And when you finally pull back, they panic, not because they love you, but because they just lost their emotional insurance policy. Machiavelli would tell you, if your loyalty is predictable, it will be exploited before it is appreciated. Test 4, just this once. This one's dangerous. It starts small. Can you cover this? Can you cancel that for me? Can you overlook this mistake, just this once? But the moment you give in, it's never just once. You become the person who can be bent because you've proven you won't break. They now know you'll bend your values as long as they stay close enough. That's not love, that's strategic pressure. Test 5, the you're too harsh defense. You speak clearly, you're too cold. You pull back, you're stone-hearted. You stop being endlessly patient, now you're heartless. This is how they flip your strength into sin. But the truth? They don't miss your warmth, they miss access to the version of you who allowed them to act without consequence. And now that version's gone, they call it cruelty, but it's just clarity. Why Machiavelli would expect all this? He would say, the closer someone stands to you, the more they expect you to absorb their chaos. And if you don't, they'll call you cold, they'll say you're different, they'll frame your evolution as betrayal. Let them. Because the man who fears offending everyone he loves ends up surrounded by people who love how easily they can offend him. The solution: stop proving you're good. You don't need to justify your coldness, defend your detachment, apologize for outgrowing the emotional systems they depended on. You just enforce, silently, consistently, without flinching. Let the accusations come, let the discomfort rise. Because once they know the old version of you is gone, they either evolve, or you let them go. And either outcome strengthens your position. Being cold-blooded isn't about turning off your heart, it's about defending your power with precision, especially from those who assume you'll never use it against them. Because if you don't protect your emotional center, you become the emotional landfill for everyone else's chaos. Machiavelli didn't build walls to keep people out. He built filters to test who was worthy of getting in. And once inside, no one stayed without constant requalification. Let's talk about how you create that same boundary power. Rule number 1. Never explain your emotional distance. You don't owe an explanation for needing space, going silent, saying no, pulling back from toxic patterns. The more you explain, the more you give them emotional leverage. Machiavelli would say, to explain is to invite negotiation, to act without permission is to signal strength. So when someone asks, why are you acting differently, what happened to us, why didn't you reach out, you don't argue, you don't unload your reasons, you simply say, I've recalibrated. And that silence, that refusal to emotionally bleed, it commands respect, or it reveals who was never capable of giving it. Rule number 2, set consequences, not conditions. Most people set conditions: don't talk to me like that again, if you do this, I'll get upset, please don't disrespect me. But Machiavelli would never beg for better behavior. He designed structures that make disrespect costly. You don't say, don't do that. You show, when you do that, I disappear. And you don't return when they panic, you return when you decide, if ever. Boundaries don't beg, they act. That's how they earn power. Rule number 3, never negotiate through emotion. Once someone knows you cry when pressured, you panic when ignored. You rush to fix when they go silent, they stop respecting your mind and start playing your emotions. Machiavelli would never allow this because emotional clarity is a shield. And once pierced, the opponent no longer aims at your mind, they aim at your wounds. You protect yourself by being unreadable under pressure, no long texts, no "I just feel like" moments. No impulsive re-entry after being hurt. Your silence becomes your leverage, your stillness becomes your stance. And if they want your softness, they'll have to earn it again. Rule number 4. Define what you tolerate and never waver. Most people have boundaries that shift depending on who's asking, how long they've known them, how emotionally tired they are. That's weakness. That's emotional currency inflation, and it kills your worth. You need black and white rules, like, I don't respond to shouting, once I set space, it stays until I reopen it. I don't reward apologies without changed behavior. And then you follow through without exception. People don't test what's enforced, they test what's flexible. Machiavelli didn't punish often. But when he did, it was surgical, cold, final. You must do the same, or they'll keep gambling with your forgiveness. Rule number 5, don't fear being seen as harsh. This is where most people falter. They know they're being used, they know their peace is being disturbed, but the moment they enforce, they feel guilty. Because society tells you, if you're not endlessly patient, you're cruel. If you don't explain yourself, you're arrogant. If you don't let them back in, you're unforgiving. But Machiavelli didn't fear being called anything, he feared being called easy. And you should too. Let them call you what they want, let them rewrite your character to fit their pain. Because when you fear reputation more than reality, you surrender power for perception. And perception changes nothing. You're not being cold, you're being uncompromising. Love without boundaries becomes sacrifice, and sacrifice without recognition becomes slavery. Machiavelli would never die on someone else's emotional battlefield. He'd observe, withdraw, return when respected. That's not being cold-blooded, that's being in control.